advocating this label. Lao Tzu might have said, "The spell that can be spoken is not the constant spell." However, we have to ask ourselves, how can we keep the lady of systemics floating in midair, especially when we think of Heinz's divorce from constructivism? While Heinz himself in 1983 outlined a wonderful 5-part lecture series called A Constructivist Epistemology, he strongly rejected both labels in 1998, saying,
No, I'm Viennese. That is the only label I have to accept. I just don't appreciate any of the jargon. When people talk about constructivists, realists, objectivists, subjectivists, postmodernists and start using all this terminology, I just feel like saying, thank you, I'm off to the movies. That's way more interesting. I don't have any epistemology at all. No, I'm astounded and allow myself to be fascinated by the world and try to understand it.
Lao Tzu would perhaps comment like this: the constructivist that can be spoken of is not the constant constructivist. And he would be right. Although Heinz kept rejecting this label of being a constructivist, and rejected it also in his last book, Part of the World, a brief manifesto slipped into this book.
They have the thing as such and other similar concepts. You can never know what the table is like because you don't know the thing as such. And I claim, or we, the constructivists, say, you are the thing as such. You are the one who says, that is a table.
Now, I hope I have sufficiently dealt with the question of our world of poetic inventions, which of course includes amongst sticks, knives, and other entities, also tables. A table becomes what we call it through our movement, and changes as our movements change, here and now. A table becomes a table, becomes a table, becomes a table. This is the process we as magicians can alter and investigate systemically, while the formlessness of formlessness and the indescribability of indescribability stays out of our reach. Again, in a Taoist variant, you can grasp the being of non-being, but you cannot grasp the non-being of non-being. In this way, we cannot advance beyond constructivism. Neither can we advance beyond magic, just as we cannot reach beyond the particular universe we are creating, here and now. What we can advance beyond is the nonsense of mere words and the idea of things as such. We can refrain from using labels as if they meant anything by themselves. We can refrain from referring to objects as if they had an existence outside of the current universe we are creating. We can, by drawing the observers inside the universe we are presenting, and through making the pattern between this universe and its inexplicabilities obvious, present the subtleties of our way of creating this universe, and so no longer imprison others within the limitedness of our own forms. The depth of our knowing, of our not knowing, in relation of the possibilities of acting, which come forth through this depth, could be understood as the depth of our ethics. Now, some mad magicians in the audience might have already noticed that while we were looking at systemics, I have managed to conjure a whole ensemble of Heinz's usual elephants, such as Taoism, poetry, and magic on the stage. My intention was to show how in understanding systemics as the invention of a matrix of an ongoing present, we can systemically embrace notions which we thought of as discarded, thinking scientifically in the past. If I have suggested, through doing so, that if we change our way of thinking, perceiving, and remembering, not only specific notions change, but the whole universe we are thereby creating, I would be happy. From this embracement of change, we can now begin to wonder and be continuously astounded at these new universes which keep coming forth. And all we have to do is take a new look, and a new universe comes into being.
The young man turns around and mutters into the dictaphone he has found at last.
We can now turn to the other. And suddenly, by turning to a poet, to a magician, a Taoist monk, to a friend who teaches English pronunciation, reinvent what systemics means for us, and recognize that through this shared inventing, we are mutually realized at all times. If we understand systemics as the unnameable, the inexplicability of the ongoing possibility of inventing a context, a matrix through which we and our universe come forth in our present togetherness, systemic stays undefinable, however often defined. In this way, Our Lady of Systemics would keep on floating in the air, and maybe then our future firsters would not be off to the movies. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention to the particular universe we are creating.
Thank you. Thank you for enduring that wonderful presentation after so many hours. And my deepest apologies for this extra 6 minutes or 7 minutes I had to take. But as an author, you're somehow a servant to inspiration and to the roles you are creating, and I couldn't cut it any shorter. So my deepest apologies for that, and wish you a good lunch.